The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Homicide toll increases as 3 men met their demise in 2 days. The homicide toll continues to rise following the shooting deaths of 3 men in separate incidents between Thursday evening and yesterday morning. The homicides took place in Laventille, San Juan, and Freeport. 2 of the victims have been identified as Aaron Thomas and Nathaniel Phillip, while the victim in the Freeport incident remained unidentified up to yesterday evening. Investigating officers said shortly before 8 a.m. yesterday, Thomas was erased at Block 22, Laventille. Residents reported hearing the sound of gunfire before discovering him dead. Officers of the Port of Spain Task Force and Criminal Investigation Department were contacted, and when they arrived at the scene, they recovered a number of spent shells. Thomas was shot multiple times. Around 11:30 p.m. on Thursday, Philip fell victim to gunmen at Laventille Road, San Juan. Similar to the incident that cost Thomas his life, residents also reported hearing gunshots in the area before contacting the police. Officers found his body along the roadway with several gunshot wounds. He too was pronounced dead at the scene. And on Thursday evening, 2 men were shot as they were walking along Connector Road, Freeport. Police reports state that the incident took place around 4:30 p.m. The injured men were taken by the police to the Chaguanas Health Facility for treatment. However, one of the men succumbed to his injuries while undergoing emergency treatment. The other man, identified as Mikey Lawrence Singh, was transferred to another health facility where he remained in stable condition up to yesterday evening. Autopsies are expected to be conducted at the Forensic Science Center in Federation Park, St. James, next week. The incidents have taken the homicide toll for the year so far to 383, compared to 357 for the corresponding period last year. Cocorite man charged with the demise of David Figueira. A Cocorite man was charged with the demise of Cascade resident David Figueira. Elijah Logan, a.k.a. Ms. and Mystery, 22, of Harding Place, also faces charges of possession of firearm, possession of ammunition, and attempted shooting with intent. 2 other men, Stefan Belgrave, a.k.a. Phil, and Stefan Williams, 23, of Sage Street, Cocorite, and Jordan Belgrave, a.k.a. Jordan Williams, of the same address, face charges of assault occasioning actual bodily harm. On November 9, Figueira, 32, of Hillside Avenue, was liming with a group of men in Cocorite. At around 12:35 p.m., the group was attacked by 2 men. Figueira attempted to pursue one of the men when he was confronted by a third man who was armed with a firearm. Figueira was shot multiple times and died at the scene. The assailants escaped. Police investigators of the Western Division Task Force arrested the 3 men on November 12. Following advice from Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard, SC, Logan was charged with the homicide. The charge was laid by P.C. McIntosh, with investigations supervised by Inspector Jones of the Homicide Bureau of Investigations Region 1, Inspector Grant of the Western Division, and officers of the Western Division Task Force and Western Division Crime Scene Unit. Safe zones are not super spreaders, says Health Minister. Health Minister Terence Dale Singh has refuted claims by the opposition that government's COVID-19 safe zones have turned into super spreaders while its pandemic policies stymie the expansion of affordable testing and treatment. Dale Singh said in Parliament on Wednesday that opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar has been pushing a narrative that is untrue and denied that safe zones were largely responsible for the spread of the Delta variant of concern. The minister was responding to Coroni East MP Dr. Rishad Sicharan, who raised the concerns during matters on the adjournment following the government's motion to revoke its COVID-19 state of emergency. Sicharan questioned the formula behind the safe zone policy and said government has ignored the impact on the local infection rate of asymptomatic carriers. He said access to affordable or free rapid antigen testing, which is available in other countries, either over the counter or free to employers, is not being made available here. However, some companies are mandating that unvaccinated employees get tested every week, while some, such as Atlantic LNG, have mandated that such workers be tested every 3 days, he said. That company is also asking that vaccinated employees get tested every week, Sicharan said. He noted that the average cost of a polymerase chain reaction PCR test was around $1,200. Dale Singh objected to Sicharan's statements, saying there was nothing preventing the importation of rapid antigen test kits once they are approved by the Chemistry, Food and Drug Division, and anybody who wants to bring an antigen test can do so. Dale Singh said, "To date, there have been no infections or cluster of cases linked to any safe zones." He went on to dispute the opposition's claim that the safe zones had caused an explosion of Delta virus cases, saying the first local case of the variant was recorded on August 11 and the first case of the local spread on September 20. The safe zones for vaccinated patrons at establishments, including bars and restaurants, opened 5 weeks ago, Dale Singh said. Sicharan had stated that 5 days after the opening of safe zones, the Ministry of Health noted what became a steady increase in infections. He said the initiative was an experiment and one that did not work, and went on to accuse the government of contributing to rising infections through poor and improperly implemented policies. Sicharan called on government to make testing more accessible and affordable to workers. Uproar in the Senate over Vieira's motion. There was an uproar in the Senate on Tuesday evening after it was announced that independent Senator Anthony Vieira's motion of censure against certain opposition members will be debated next Tuesday. The motion calls on the Senate to censure the unparliamentary conduct of opposition senators who were abusive and made adverse comments and reflections on independent senators during the October 21 meeting of the Electoral College. Opposition members were caught off guard because the motion, which was filed in late October, was the last in the queue of 7 private motions. The motion was originally down at number 7 and would have been expected to be debated no sooner than 7 months, hence, since only 1 day in each month is set aside for debate on private members' motions. However, Vieira also had 2 other motions, in number 1 and 2 in the private members' motion queue. This meant that the motion set for debate on Tuesday was a motion filed by Vieira on another subject. What happened was that a decision was made to replace motion number 1 with motion number 7, since both were filed by Vieira. While Vieira's motion stood at 1 and 2, motion number 3 was filed by independent Senator Amrita Deonaran, while Wade Mark had 3 motions in the queue, standing 4, 5, and 6, with Vieira having the 7th motion. Government leader Clarence Ramharat indicated as the House was about to adjourn that Tuesday was Private Members' Day, and it was his understanding that the intention was to proceed with motion number 7, the motion of censure. Mark rose and said, "There's an order. The minister has no authority to tell you, the Vice President, which motion shall be dealt with. There are 7 motions on the order paper. 1 is Vieira, 2 is Vieira, and 7 is Vieira. It has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You cannot come and tell this Parliament you are going straight to number 7. You are totally out of place and mad." This provoked crosstalk, and Senate Vice President Nigel de Freitas cautioned Mark, Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell, and Trade Minister Paula Gopi Schoon against speaking while de Freitas was standing. The Vice President said as far as he understood there was an order. Senator Vieira had the first bite of the cherry, so to speak, in relation to Private Members' Day. If the leader of the government business has indicated that it is motion number 7, I am going to assume that Senator Vieira is okay with that, and that he has indicated to the leader of government business that that is what he intends to do. Senator Mark, that's it, de Freitas said. Senator Vieira had the first bite of the cherry, so to speak, in relation to the Private Members' Day. If the leader of government business has indicated that it is motion number 7 for debate, I am going to assume that Senator Vieira is okay with that, and that he has indicated to the leader of government business that that is what he intends to do. Senator Mark, that's it, de Freitas said. But Mark was not having it. "No," he rejoined. Senator Mark, de Freitas cautioned. But Mark continued to protest loudly. "Senator Mark, take your seat," de Freitas said sternly. At this stage, the cross-talk between government and opposition members resumed. "Members, I am on my feet. Let this chamber fall to silence. I have spoken," de Freitas exclaimed. "He can't just bypass me. Are you mad?" Mark said. "Senator Mark, I am not asking for debate. I have spoken. As the Vice President of the Senate, Senator Mark, I have spoken. If you wish to continue with the proceedings, you will be silent." But before he could complete his sentence, Senator David Nakid joined Mark. "Senator David Nakid and Senator Mark, you cannot be speaking to me about procedure and then at the same time undermine that procedure as it relates to the standing orders and the authority of the chair," de Freitas thundered. "It will not be tolerated at no point in any proceedings," de Freitas said, to desk-thumping support from the government bench. Undaunted, Mark continued to complain. "Senator Mark, I did not ask for a response," de Freitas said. "Take your seat. I am on my legs. I am not going to repeat it. Senator Mark, take your seat." "You have to be impartial," Nakid rejoined. "That is wrong. There is an order. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I am 4th, 5th, and 6th. You can't bypass me. That is totally wrong," Mark insisted. "And we are not accepting it. Throw us out. This is wrong," Nakid chimed in. "He can't just bypass me. I have to agree. He has to ask me. This is a dictatorship. This is crazy. Are you mad?" Mark said. The Vice President proceeded to put the motion for the adjournment. Sources said the parliamentary records show that switching around the motions is not unusual since the opposition, both in the House and the Senate, has resorted to such switching around of its private motions. Sources indicated that in this case involving Vieira's motion, he was displacing his own motion by moving around motion 1 and motion number 7. Since the filing of the motion by Vieira, the United National Congress (UNC) has been on the attack against the independent senators, particularly Vieira. At the meeting of the Electoral College, which was summoned to deal with the motion to impeach President Paula May Weeks, the independent senators all voted against the motion, which had been filed by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Independent senators, as they voted against the motion, were accused of being P&M and of singing for their supper. So offended by the opposition's behavior, Figueira decided to file the motion of censure. Private members' day is when the interests of benches, which are not in the government, take precedence.